Hello, everyone. I'm Major Garrett in Washington. Tonight on America Decides, the call and the details. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone today about ending the war in Ukraine, a war that Russia started more than 3 years ago. The two leaders agreed that at least the incipient movement, possibly toward peace, will begin with a ceasefire dealing with energy and infrastructure inside Ukraine. Middle East ceasefire shattered. That's another story tonight. Israel has pounded Gaza with a wave of deadly airstrikes. More than 400 Palestinians are killed in the deadliest day in more than 15 months. That, according to the Gaza Health Ministry. Israel says the attacks came after Hamas refused to release more hostages. The White House was consulted and is supportive of the Israeli action. Judiciary confrontation. Chief Justice John Roberts, the Supreme Court, pushes back after the Trump administration refuses to answer questions about why it ignored a federal judge's immigration ruling. The judge, who the president is now calling upon to be impeached, is demanding to know why the administration did not turn around flights sending Venezuelan migrants to a prison in El Salvador.
We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
Also tonight, returning to Earth, we are keeping a very watchful, expectant eye on the sky as two astronauts who unexpectedly spent 9 months on the International Space Station, they're only supposed to be there for a few days, will soon splash down here at home. The last leg of astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams' out-of-this-world trip that's just ahead. We're going to start tonight with Ed O'Keefe at the White House. Ed, great to see you. This call between President Trump, President Putin, much anticipated, much of the world, certainly the European world, and Ukrainians watching it carefully. What can we deduce from what both sides said about this call?
And President Trump didn't get entirely what he was looking for, which was a 30-day ceasefire, complete one on both sides. The Russians have agreed to what's called an energy and infrastructure ceasefire, which means they essentially won't hit power plants and perhaps other facilities. The Russian readout of this call says that he immediately ordered his commanders to stop targeting or consider targeting those kinds of spots. The White House version of events says that they are planning on talks immediately beginning in the Middle East. We've asked, and we don't know where those meetings will be held, who's attending them, and by that I mean which countries, and then who on behalf of those countries would be there. Is it the United States and Russia? Is it Russia and Ukraine? Is it all three? Is it the Saudis? Is it the Qataris? Is it somebody else who's hosting all this? Unclear. They also discussed the Middle East and the situation that played out last night over the skies of Israel and Gaza, and called on Iran to stop backing militias that are causing violence in the Red Sea, which, of course, is another big focus of the White House in recent days with the attacks on the Houthis based out of Yemen. So it appears to have been a successful call that covered a wide range of things, but ultimately did not result in Russia accepting the ceasefire deal that the White House had been hoping for the better part of a week now that they would do.
Ed, you are gamely competing with shouts near the North Lawn. I've done that before. You're doing it very well. Since the audience can hear it, if there's any way you can describe what you're competing with, just so the audience knows, please let us know.
Let's just say it has to do with what was going on last night in the Middle East.
Got it. Understood. There has been a conversation about whether or not Vladimir Putin, in any interaction with President Trump, would buy for time. Is there any sense from the White House that it is in any way disappointed that the ceasefire isn't more comprehensive than it sought in the first place?
Well, if they are, in their view, it was a successful call in that it happened, it lasted more than an hour. They got him to at least agree to the energy ceasefire, and they agreed to keep talking. But the biggest issue here of concern, not only for the Trump administration, but conceivably for the Europeans and certainly for the Ukrainians, is that the Russians were very clear. There will be a ceasefire only if military and intelligence assistance to Ukraine is stopped. The Europeans have argued, the Ukrainians have argued, and certainly many American officials have argued, you do that, you're giving Russia an unfair advantage to stock up and get ready, whereas Ukraine can't the way it's been operating. It's been operating with Western military and intelligence support. So there's going to have to be a discussion about whether or not Ukraine can continue to do that and essentially sit there and prepare and restock and reload, much like Russia will, or if at least the United States would agree to that. And given all the other concessions that the Trump administration appears to have made, whether it's in canceling various programs that were tracking the apparent kidnapping of Ukrainian children into Russia, or potentially making other changes in military or State Department policy towards Russia, that is what causes some concern for the Europeans and Ukrainians to see the two presidents talking to each other with no other parties involved.
And very quickly, Ed, you talked about the things yet to be achieved, meaning the specifics of the talks in the Middle East. Anything from the administration about when some clarity might be achieved on the schedule or the participants?
No, as of yet, at least, no. But again, if the talks that had gone on between the United States and Russia and the United States and Ukraine were happening in Saudi, conceivably they're going to do it again. And Saudi Arabia has invited those parties to come to Saudi for these conversations. We've got to remember, you might be thinking to yourself, why Saudi Arabia? Well, remember when this conflict began about 3 years ago, 3 years ago, it was the Middle East and Saudi Arabia especially that was concerned about the sudden stoppage of the export of Ukrainian grain and other agricultural products that help feed the better part of the Middle East and the Arab world. So Saudi Arabia has a real immediate concern and interest in seeing this conflict end because, in essence, that part of the world helps feed their people. So that's part of the reason they've been involved. The other is obviously the Saudis don't mind being an international broker and having the Russians and the Americans visiting them to try to pull off what much of the world sees right now as the most urgent conflict.
Ed O'Keefe joining us from the North Lawn of the White House. Thanks so very much.